Hey, what's up, Steelers Nation? I'm Tyler Feldman. What a joke. Just what an absolute joke. Wayne, Chris, I'm looking forward to hearing how you're positive spinning this one here tonight.
And I'm Ben Bobick. Typical.
And I'm Wayne Gandy. Is Isaac Siamalu the offensive MVP? Maybe so.
And I'm Chris Carter, host of the Locked On Steelers podcast. You're watching Steelers Squad Show. Let's get into it.
Wave those terrible towels. It's the Steelers Squad. Everything Pittsburgh Steelers every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Steel City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the steel curtain to the next generation, the Steelers Squad Show starts now.
Yes, it does. This is the Steelers Squad Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And yes, I see some confused faces. I'm playing the daydreaming music that is available on this stream. And that's what I was doing watching these Steelers tonight. It looked like they were daydreaming, just about start to finish. Tonight's episode brought to you by Fandom. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. Chris, hold on. Got to read the ad read. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Again, I'm your host, Tyler Feldman. Ben Bobick joining us, 15-year NFL veteran, former Steeler Wayne Gandy on the show as always, and Christopher Carter here with us tonight as well. It is Sunday night. The Steelers not looking great on Sunday Night Football, falling to the Chargers on the West Coast, 25-10. We will be having a full recap of the game, instant reaction, that expert analysis, and so much more. Chris, take it away on your thoughts. I'll turn off the daydreaming music and just let it go silent for you to chat.
Yeah, I was worried that like something was playing on my end, and I was like, what the heck is going on?
No, that was me. That was me. I felt it was apropos for the situation. Not thrilled about what I saw here tonight.
I appreciate you including that this was the StreamYard provided music, because I was like, do we have copyright? But
I hope so. It's in the StreamYard platform here. So,
but in all seriousness, I think what you saw was the absolute worst performance that we've seen from this offense this year, particularly from Aaron Rodgers. And it's just disappointing because the defense came to play. They came out, they were taking away what the Chargers wanted to do. And hey, I know everyone complains the defense can play well without turnovers. Well, this was a night that they did, but you see where you do want the turnovers, because the Chargers, their 2 touchdowns came after turnovers. And sometimes those things flip momentum. But I think what's really disappointing, because I know I see a lot of people online saying, oh, this is why you should have traded for a wide receiver too. There were guys open all over the field.
Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter.
Like when Kenneth Gainwell's walking in the middle part of the field, he doesn't see him. DK Metcalf toasts his guy and he can't get the ball to him. Calvin Austin, same thing. And I'm just like, man, like there's no excuse in that. And I think the question is, and I don't want to say that this is definitely what it is, but the question is, and we all kind of wondered this going into this season, is there a fall off point for Aaron Rodgers? Is there a Russell Wilson end of the year point that he reaches, or a Ben Roethlisberger like late 2020 point where he reaches, where all of a sudden the things come loose? Now, I will say this, and I'm sure Wayne will get to this too. The early pressures allowed by the offensive line definitely spooked Aaron Rodgers, and that's why you need your O-line to come out on point and getting things. I didn't think they had the worst night, but you saw it impact him, and then everything else was off kilter. And you saw Justin Herbert just in his youth, in his ability to still handle that. He was getting hit all night. He was getting pressure, but he was able to respond to it better because of who he is and where he is in his career. I honestly put this game on the Chargers quarterback responded to a really good pressure plan from the Steelers, better than Aaron Rodgers responded to a really good pressure plan from the Chargers.
You don't say. I think it's time we start practicing acceptance with this team, because these Steelers tonight, I'm not saying this is exactly who they are, but it is pretty close to evening out these points. And this is definitely one of those dips in the roller coaster. Wayne, Chris mentioned the offensive line, that opening drive, Troy Fautanu, false start, and then he let Khalil Mack beat him. And that, to me, kind of set the stage for this entire game. How did you see things through your lens start to finish here?
I felt like, and that's why I said in the opening comments, it seemed that we couldn't get in the big boy running attack to be physical up front. We found ourselves in too many second and third and longs. To say what Chris, to back him up, for some reason, quickly, Aaron Rodgers got gun shy. I don't know. He got gun shy like Derek Carr back with the Houston Texans back in the day. Real quick, after about 2 or 3 plays, he seemed to be rattled, even on the safety. It seemed like he was just drawing a blank sometimes once the ball. He didn't know how to make the read. And when he did, he wouldn't step into the throw. And I don't know what it was about tonight. And you have to imagine that he was going to have 2 or 3 of these this season. And we talked about how would they be able to function offensively when Aaron Rodgers has a bad game. I mean, there's no quarterback, there's no player that does not have a bad game. And they had nothing. We didn't get the turnovers, so we couldn't get the short field to where all he had to do was throw the ball out on the edge and somebody makes a big play. And then once we got behind, you just didn't feel like we were going to have the protection to be able to hold up to really move the ball. So I'm with you guys. I felt like guys were getting open. There was just not a lot of time. Both tackles struggled there in situations a lot of times, not necessarily giving up sacks, but definitely where he was spooked and kind of froze a couple, like deer in headlights. And we're talking about a Hall of Famer, but every once in a while he kind of just cinched up like he didn't know what to do with the football. And it got a little out of their hand. But that first half, it was some heavyweight punches thrown. I was loving it. Even though both offenses were struggling, they were struggling because the defenses were dominating.
Mm-hmm.
It just eventually we cracked there as the second half started.
Aaron Rodgers, a little gun shy, a former Steeler making national headlines earlier this week, apparently not gun shy at all. And here are the Steelers now sitting in a situation where the Ravens have won 3 straight. They're 4-5, and the Steelers now losing. They've lost 3 of their last 4. They're now 5-4. So, Ben, I mean, we're at a point where what's going to happen? I'm really not sure. I don't have the best confidence in the world, the most confidence in the world, but we've seen how this Steelers team is still capable of winning big games, but this doesn't really leave a good taste in my mouth.
No, absolutely not. And it's like it's a bad game, all around bad game. I will say one thing about the Ravens, though, and I was yelling at the screen before the game tonight. Like, let's not all act like we're surprised that the Ravens are doing what they're doing with Lamar Jackson back in the lineup and then their schedule. Like, let's not like, oh my gosh, it's like 1-5. I get it, but let's not be surprised that they're winning football games that they should with Lamar Jackson back at quarterback. Any hoodles, back to the Steelers, bad as it gets, man. It just too many missed opportunities there early. They really had a chance to take advantage of. I think about, I mean, from the start. I mean, from the start, you get the ball at the Charger. You get the ball at the 40-yard line, and then the first play of the game is a false start penalty. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, come on, this is the first play of the game, and they even deep into the second half, and that's where the defense was really what they really were keeping them in the game. They were giving them those chances to get back in the game. I think in the second half there, they had a chance to seize the momentum after the Chargers come out, get the ball out of the half. They get the punt. They start rolling a little bit. They get 3rd and 2, and then you can't pick it up. I mean, like, come on, you go a timeout. They called a timeout early in the half, and then they have a 3rd and 2, and they didn't even come close to converting it. And it's like, what that's a chance to seize momentum there. And they just miss on so many opportunities, too many self-inflicted wounds, and it just ultimately just stacked up. I think ultimately Chris said on it, I mean, if you want to look at it through just a simple lens, AR8 didn't have it tonight, man. Aaron Rodgers did not have anything close to his good stuff, even if it's mediocre stuff. It was as bad as it gets for him in a Steelers uniform. And you know what? If that's the bottom there, I hope that's the only time we see it, because it was, and that was by far his worst game as the Steeler. And it came at a tough time, because if you really look at it, I really think this was a winnable game for the Steelers if things just didn't snowball the way that it did.
Steelers 2 for 11 on 3rd down, -3 in the turnover department. Aaron Rodgers completing just about 50% of his passes, only 161 yards, 1 touchdown late, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. Chris, where does this team go now? clearly changes, adjustments need to be made. The defense played good enough to win this football game, but the offense mysterious right now which way they're headed.
Yeah, I mean, you as always, you don't want to have knee-jerk reactions to everything and just like change everything right now. It's just rarely the way to go, because that's what's going to come. But like, here's the thing: is that like you've seen the offense have some good games for like most of this season. When you go back and you see how they perform, this is the first time that they haven't reached 21 points or more since week 2 against Seattle. Like this is a rarity. Now, what you do have to check is making sure that this isn't a new trend that's starting up here. But like, for example, when everyone, question, is the defense terrible now because of how they played against the Bengals and Packers? Then you see the performance they had last week against the Colts, and even this week against the Chargers. The defense, I think, can course correct, just like this offense can course correct. But the question is about Aaron Rodgers' age, and I think that's the thing that looms over this team is like, is this going to happen again like it did last year, where Russell Wilson was lighting things on fire against the Commanders and the Bengals in the middle parts of the season, beating teams with good quarterbacks, on the road with inspiring play. And then, even keeping them in the game against the Ravens until he had those 2 bad turnovers, and then just completely fell apart late in the season. I don't think it's that there yet for Aaron Rodgers. He's typically a smart quarterback, and there were a lot of plays that I thought he left out that, smart quarterback opportunities. Even like on the DK Metcalf interception, Kenneth Gainwell just cooks his man to the inside, is wide open, and he tries to go for his number 1 guy. And in doing so, just completely misses and throws it right to the defense. Other plays where DK Metcalf was wide open, he missed him on. Same thing for Calvin Austin. On the 4th down where he tried to force it to double team to DK Metcalf. I thought they designed exactly what you want for Pat Freiermuth. He did like a sort of a Texas sort of route where he cuts out, breaks back inside. He had momentum, and if he hits him with a quick pass over the middle, with his power and size, he could probably push his way into the end zone. I'll also say 2 more plays. Jonnu Smith, the one he had to sky up for, if he just throws it right to him, I didn't see anybody in front of him. He could turn and run into the end zone. Kenneth Gainwell on the 3rd down before the 4th down, just throwing it up really high for no reason. If he just hits that to him, Kenneth Gainwell's fast enough to turn it up. That's 2 plays right there. Forget everything else. Forget the 4th down play and the interception. He makes those 2 very standard throws. Those are touchdowns, 14 points on drives where they got 0 points. You throw 14 points on this board right now, it's a game all of a sudden. Those are things you have to take into account. And here's the other thing. If they score those points, when they score those points, the defense gets energy, gets juice. There's pressure on the Chargers, have to be aggressive, more chances for turnovers, and they just didn't happen. And so, like you guys are saying, the defense came to play, and this is a game that was very winnable if the offense did today what it has done for most of this season, and that's what's really disappointing.
Defense sacked Justin Herbert 5 times. I really liked the way the defense played. I'm numb now to this situation, these kinds of games, because I don't really know if I have expectations anymore for the Steelers. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed, but I'm numb to this kind of performance because I think that's what allows me to keep my sanity, Wayne. That's where I'm at right now, unfortunately. I'm not saying I'm at the Pirates level of numbness, and I don't watch the Pirates. I still watch the Steelers. It still brings me joy, but I didn't really have a ton of joyful moments. And we were getting close to the holiday season. Nothing was gift wrapped in this one.
Well, you're a fan, aren't you, Tyler? You got to stay optimistic.
Well, hey, it's really hard when I'm watching. Man.
Well, it was disheartening, just and I think the 4 of us all are just saying that Aaron Rodgers in this kind of performance, they won't win any games with him being that far off tonight. No quarter. It's the worst in the time I've ever watched him play. It's the worst game because he never came out of it. You can have a bad quarter, even a bad half, but he had a bad game. And he just looked like he was rattled and frustrated. And we still, as we keep trying to find and put it on, it's the 2nd receiver, 3rd receiver, that has to come around. But sometimes you got to start figuring out how to get these guys the ball, because they're professional too. They're sitting over there. You're not going to throw me the ball, so why am I all out effort? Now, that's no excuse for why Calvin Austin missed that kind of slant pass. That was just bad football. but we can't just keep going back to we're not going to use these guys. You got to get them a couple of touches in the game, make a point to get everybody in rhythm. But tonight, the Chargers and their defense, just like we're saluting the Steelers defense, the Chargers defense came to play, especially rushing the passer, being disruptive. It was a physical game. They were willing to match the physicality of the Steelers and play. It looked like a Big Ten football game there for a while.
I don't know if we need to bring up the Big Ten. It's been a tough weekend for a
y'all
couple of us on this show,
right?
man. You could have said the SEC. You could have said the SEC, man. You said the Big Ten. That's unbelievable. Let's go to break. We'll be right back. We're going to have more of this Steelers getting struck down in LA. What went wrong? We'll go into Wayne's world and see what he wants to highlight to the 10th degree on maybe where the Steelers can change or what they need to keep doing that they're doing well. Who knows? That'll be next right here on the Steelers Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Hey, what's up, Steelers Squad Show? Eddie Garcia here on location in Los Angeles, getting ready to watch the Steelers play the Chargers, and Steelers Nation is representing very well here in Los Angeles.
I just talked to Eddie. He's crying. He's got a box of tissues. He's an absolute massacre. His wife, a huge Chargers fan. She's very happy. So I'm glad Eddie was there, part of the Locked On Steelers Squad Show here, but I'm not sure Eddie enjoyed what he saw tonight. Back here, second quarter, Ben Bobick, Christopher Carter, Wayne Gandy. I'm Tyler Feldman. So glad you're spending your Sunday night with us talking about the Steelers 25-10 loss. Ben, I'll go to you. Steelers Nation represented. You had Troy Polamalu there. It's hard to perform like that with that man in the building, but that's what happened. I don't even know what else is on your mind here, Ben, as you sit through that one and reflect.
Yeah, the best way I could make myself feel better about it all is like, hey man, it's one game. You know, they could have lost 100-0. It's still only going to count as one loss. And then I go back to what I said. You know, just even before they hit this 3-game stretch, we said, listen, I'd love for them just to get one out of this Packers, Colts, Chargers game, their stretch, if you will. They got one of them. Obviously, this tonight was ugly. It was as ugly as it gets. But you know what? It's a good point. It's a good chance to look in the mirror here. You got a divisional game coming up next week. Certainly, it feels like a must-win against the Cincinnati team that whipped your butt. Not whipped your butt a couple weeks ago, but at least made your defense look silly a couple weeks ago. But it's just one of those things where it's like I think I mentioned this one time on the show. It's like your golf game, man. You only talked about like, hey, man, I'm hitting the ball well off the tee, but I can't putt. It's the defense. You know, they string two decent games together, but you know what? Now the offense decides to lay an egg tonight, and it's like, why can't they just consistently put it all together and get on a roll type of that sort of thing? And it's just. You have to believe what Aaron Rodgers has shown throughout the course of this season and in his career for that matter, that this hopefully won't won't snowball into a bad run. I see where Chris is coming from because it happened with Russell Wilson. So it's easy to have that, whoa now. Like, we've seen this before sort of mentality. But, at least with it being one game, he definitely put the headlights on. But you have to believe that this cat, there's been too much good over this season to think that one game is going to hopefully not lead to others. And they're going to get a chance to rebound next week at home. There's a pair of games here that I think they need to get here these next 2 weeks. But I think the defense continues to trend in the right direction. I think that tonight really was. It was solid. They were getting after Justin Herbert, James Pierre, also a guy who actually played some decent football tonight. Stepped up and played, obviously in an injury-plugged secondary. But you just have to believe that there's enough good that outweighs the bad that this won't snowball.
I'd like to think that, and part of me wants to, and part of me is trying to stay realistic. This is a make or break game in my eyes. Either you figure out what really needs to be fixed and you make those changes, or you allow a loss like this to turn things in the other direction. Wayne's World, let's dive inside. What really do you want to highlight from this game tonight so that fans can see from your 15 years in the NFL that lens as to what a loss like this means for this Steelers team this season?
Well, Ben set me up perfectly on one part, and that is James Pierre. It's time to go ahead and make that move. Darius Slay, for whatever he may be able to bring, it's something, and sometimes you get that point in your career, but it's too much inconsistency as far as whether he's going to be available to play or something is nagging him. And this has nothing to do with being his fault. It's just how the world is spinning for him right now. And I saw with Pierre tonight a physicality, a certain demeanor that really set more of a Steeler way than I think that Slay brings to the field. Now, as far as when you look at the team, is it about what you can correct? I don't think that's what it is. It's how you can motivate and get these guys going. I mean, this is the team. It's an ugly win. We're going to get 10 wins ugly. And it's just a thing of trying to figure out how to motivate and get these guys to play at a level consistent enough that no matter who they play, they can win the game. Tonight, it was just the offensive line took a step back as a whole tonight because they were not met. And some of that is, like I said, with Isaac being out over there at left guard, we find out that Spencer Anderson really is a tackle. He's not a guard. He's not. He doesn't have that kind of lower body. He doesn't have that kind of physicality. He's a tackle. That's why he plays so well when you put him at the tight end position. But it seemed to be a step back in physicality on the offensive line. But, I mean, we can talk all day about this game. Offensively, it was that the trigger man tonight never found his game, whether it was bad errant throws, not seeing the full field, being a little rattled, being a little frustrated. He was off the night. And we have to accept that's what we brought in as a quarterback. A guy, his energy level. It's like the Doug Flutie, Frank Thomas commercial, over 40. And as your level go down, so we gotta figure out how, next Sunday against the Bengals to get everything back up to have a better chance to win.
I'm glad you mentioned Frank Thomas because the big hurt, that's how I'm feeling right now. Big hurt, okay? And, of course, everyone's staying very calm, and no one's overreacting in the comments section right now. Trade everyone except Watt, Highsmith, Ramsey, Warren, and Boswell.
Wow.
Well, you're not left with a ton of guys. Everyone remain calm. Remain calm, Chris, okay?
Oh, boy. But I do think remain calm is what people have to remember. It's funny. I didn't get to be on the squad show last Sunday or this Wednesday due to schedule conflicts. But, I was saying this in my head after the Colts win. I'm like, this is a really good win. This is a really good win against a good football team. They outplayed them, outcoached them. They did everything they were supposed to do. But, athletes always tell you, you do not get too high with your highs, do not get too lows with your lows. And that's where I think the Steelers fandom does not do well, because every time they win Super Bowl, let's go, or you're the people that just don't want the Steelers to win because they're the weird ones that just want them to lose every game all the time because they prefer misery all the time. Those people don't count as real fans. But then there's the people who, when the Steelers lose, they're just like, it's over, bottom of the division, here we come. We're never, this is the year we finally have the losing record. It's just like, it's every week, and I'm just like, guys,
well,
be here, man.
Well, just a quick pushback in a joking fashion, Chris. I've never heard a Steelers fan say bottom of the division, because thankfully we have the Browns, and so I've never really had that major concern of cellar dwelling in the AFC North.
You are not as much. You don't get it as much as, because I guess you're just not tweeting as much about the Steelers as I am.
I try to get off. I try to stay off the Twitter. You know, I read your comments like, I don't want that, Chris. I'm going to just kind of back off a little bit. Do you know what was a lot? Watching this game. And Ben, I want to go to you, because there has to be some sort of solution. Aaron Rodgers, we've talked about this before on the show. We knew what he was coming to Pittsburgh. You get to the playoffs, still don't really see this team as a Super Bowl contender, win some games, get to the playoffs. But you look at Drake May, you look at Miami beating Buffalo. The NFL is a tough league. So week in, week out, you just never know what's going to happen. There's been a lot of parity this season. The Steelers need that quarterback, because Aaron tonight showed that age is catching up. We saw him, I feel like, earlier in the season, but now we're halfway through the season now, and I feel like tonight we saw that finally catching up. A later start, even though it was on the West Coast, you know, that's kind of how I'm feeling. I don't know if you're in the same space, but quarterback play is got to be a focus in the upcoming draft for this team.
Yeah, you know what? One drive kind of stood out to me that I obviously, well, was the nail in the coffin, obviously, because the Chargers then scored a touchdown that was the proverbial nail. But it was the last one after that Dicker missed the field goal, and it hit, and he doinked it, and then they started to get some rhythm going on offense, and they still had to come back from it. They still had a pretty big deficit, and they're running the ball well, and then they have second and manageable. Then for whatever reason, the play calling or whatever they were calling just went south. And like, why are we throwing a fade on fourth down? And not even just a fade on fourth down. Yeah, right. But also, here's the thing, Chris. First down was in play. It wasn't like they had to throw it to the end zone on any of those plays, or you know, obviously they didn't, but like the first down was in play. You get the first down, you got a first and goal from likely the 4 or in, depending on where you would have landed if you didn't get in the end zone. That's the one for me that I'm like, what are we doing? At that point, I'd have just rather ran it, you know, 2 or 3 more times, because they were getting some push there, at least a little bit with Jaylen Warren, and it's like, it's stuff like that, and Aaron Rodgers just seemingly couldn't find that rhythm tonight, and when things like this happen, it always cracks me up, and we've been talking a little bit about Steelers fans as a whole. When the offense isn't going, it's always the first thing that comes up is, and even the broadcast was doing it, was always the second receiver. It's like, oh, they just had a second receiver here that this could really, they could ever really spread it. Chris calls, well, you see, when they have to spread it out, it doesn't really work for him. It's like, no, like what doesn't work for him, Chris, is that he's not finding the open guy. And if we're going to look at this as a whole, there's been the open guy has been there. He's either overthrown it today. He just doesn't have it today. He just didn't. And it's whether that's okay or not, we're going to find out here as the season progresses. But it wasn't okay tonight, and that's the reason that they lost. It just is. And so they have to just take a deep breath, get back, they get to come back home here. You're back in the kitchen in the AFC North with Cincinnati coming to town, but the offense just couldn't find a rhythm tonight, and it just Aaron Rodgers had a bad game. He had a bad game. It happens. It happens. Hopefully it just doesn't continue to happen.
And on that Metcalf fade play on fourth down in the end zone, again, like the drawing up play in the middle part of the field, they had like a good concept. It looked like Pat Freiermuth cooked his man to the inside, and if he hits him, Freiermuth catches the ball, at least gets that first down you were talking about, maybe gets him to the end zone. So again, just like there were plays to be made that were either not looked at or overthrown. And it's just that kind of stuff you don't expect from Aaron Rodgers. And, hey, if he lays you, if this is his one egg that he lays you, fine. But you cannot have this continue. I know a lot of people were saying, put Mason Rudolph in there. You don't do that this early. But I do think it gets to a point where if this continues for a few weeks, like if he does this against a bad Bengals defense and then against the Bears, then you start to look like, all right, we might need to turn it up, because I do think you're seeing the defense start to figure things out right now. And to your point, Wayne, I was pointing this out during the game. James Pierre right now, with after tonight, he has 6 breakups on I think 11 targets on this season. You are more likely to throw a pass his way that he gets his hands on than he is to allow a catch, which is crazy considering James Pierre's history with the Steelers. So maybe they start playing him a bit more. They might need some more help anyways, because it's him, Porter, and Ramsey and Eccles right now that are your only guys that are even listed as cornerback right now. And Corey Trice, I don't know when that guy's ever going to get healthy. So I look at that and I say, man, there's a path for this defense to still play at a high level, to get the point you expected them to be. Play well, but
I think we lost Chris. So we'll take a quick break. Chris is talking about breakups from James Pierre, and then he went ahead and got broken up with some Wi-Fi connection. So very, very on brand there, Chris. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Steelers-Chargers defeat for the Steelers, 25-10. We'll also look ahead to that Bengals matchup at Acrisure Stadium next Sunday. That's next right here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. Whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, or just fill the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. Second half, third quarter of this Locked On Steelers squad show. Ben Bobick, Christopher Carter, Wayne Gandy. I'm Tyler Feldman. Hope you're recovering from that 25-10 loss by the Steelers on the West Coast to the Chargers. Hey, give the Chargers credit. We've been doing that all night on this show. They played well. They played a really great football game. Justin Herbert was pressured, but he hung tough the entire night. The Chargers defense looked stout as well. Wayne, I want to start with you and go back to the defense. It seems like after a game like this, as the defense continues to slowly get better, even though they're still kind of banged up, after a night like this, you don't really know where that offense is heading. I really feel like the defense is going to have to continue to get better and be the anchor if the Steelers want any chance of getting through a really tough stretch the rest of the way here.
And wasn't that the plan from the beginning of the season? That the defense was going to carry this team wherever it went, however many wins, however deep it could go into the playoffs, it was going to be about the defense. I think the only thing I saw tonight that has become an issue to me with the defense, we can't seem to cover the little seam route underneath. It kills us in multiple games, whoever's guarding in that slot position. And it's not just the guy that's in the coverage, it's also the coverage itself. It's not moving. They're vacating areas and not getting back into areas and those kind of situations. But defensively, They seem to be found something with Ramsey at safety. The trade with Duger coming over looked like it's going to pay some dividends. And the big part of the defense that is supposed to dominate is coming around. We're starting to see Highsmith and Watt and Herbert and these guys, Peyton Wilson, starting to make plays, big plays in coverage, in the run game. Patrick Queen, once again, he had a couple little miscues there, but he had about 12, 14 tackles. He was in the mix. It was just a good game, I thought, defensively. And the thing that they're going to have to accept, as Chris, I think, or Ben said when we started, is the turnover factor. We're just going to have to hope, and it's not like they can magically just snap their fingers. But with this kind of offense that's really kind of just built to run, play action, and we haven't found the consistent pass game deep down the field. It needs those short fields. But the defense, it seems to be going the way, or at least becoming slowly what we thought it could be.
Steelers with 6 turnovers last week. I remember saying, "Hey, save some for the rest of the season." No turnovers tonight. Joey Porter should have had an interception. I'm not sure at his skill level, his position, how he didn't pick that one off. Beyond me. It's been a weird season for Joey Porter Jr. But the turnovers are certainly one thing. You look at halftime. What did Mike Tomlin say? He said they took advantage of the turnovers and the Steelers didn't. Chris, is that a focus for this team moving forward? Is it the turnover situation that could help this Steelers team steal some victories in situations where, hey, this was not – it was a blowout definitely in the second half, but you create some turnovers, it could have been a whole different game. I didn't think the Chargers necessarily blew things out of the water. The Steelers just were –
yeah, they didn't.
Underwhelming.
Yeah, I think that this was more so about what the Steelers left out on the field than the Chargers blowing anything out of the water. I think there's a misnomer about the turnover conversation. Like a lot of people are saying, like, "Oh, this is a defense where they just all they go for is turnovers, and that's why they're bad at these other things." It's not an either or situation. You're playing football in a way to limit certain things, to take away certain things. And then in those moments when you're taking away certain things, you create opportunities where, hey, this is a turnover, opportunity for us in this situation. And especially early on, and most of the game, really, the secondary was in place so many times this night. You look at how they were there was time Justin Herbert had time in the pocket or was like buy time after the pressure got, forced him out of the pocket. And he couldn't find guys because they were being sticky in coverage. And that comes from good communication. And I think that's something that you're seeing more consistently with this defense. And if they can keep that up, that's what this defense needs to play at a high level. But they also need to not be living on the field. The Steelers came into this game one of the worst time of possession teams in football. Right now, they ranked 30th coming into tonight. They averaged on average, they averaged about 27.5 minutes of time of possession, and they finished tonight with 22. And like you can't play that way. You have to be able to protect the football. 2 of 11 on third downs is atrocious. You have to be able to protect the football, push the football, and then all of a sudden later in the game, Justin Herbert has to force more passes that maybe you do get an interception on. Maybe your guys do get, because again, the pressure worked. Like I think the defensive plan worked. Benton had another sack. TJ Watt had another sack. 6 in he has 6 out of his last 7 games. He's had a sack. Nick Herbert got a sack. Alex Highsmith, another 2-sack game back to back for him. So I look at this, and this is why another reason why I'm saying, like, hey, I don't think it's the plan that's the problem right now. It's hey, Aaron Rodgers needs to take what's right there, and if you get the Joey Porter interception that's thrown right to him, you have those opportunities that are very doable, and then all of a sudden this team does win a game like this. And again, because this is why I say don't get too highs with the highs, don't get too lows with the lows. I've said all season, this is not a Super Bowl team. This is a team that makes it to the playoffs. Maybe if they get the right matchup in the first round, they win that game, and then they have a chance to steal one in the second round. But this was always a team that was going to be up and down throughout the season. You need to ride that roller coaster smartly and not be going crazy week after week. And I know for some people it's impossible, but that's what it is.
Are you guys blind? We need a wide receiver too. Well, I am, but I wear glasses, as you can tell, so that helps me see. And so I feel like I do have the vision to notice what's out there. Calvin Austin wasn't great tonight, and we talked about this a little bit, gentlemen. But Ben, I don't really think a wide receiver 2 changes much offensively. I don't think if Aaron Rodgers is going to play like that, it doesn't matter. You throw Will Howard out there, throw Mason Rudolph out there. I'm not sure that makes a difference. I think you've got great pieces. I like the tight end package. You've got enough for what this team is. I think there are other areas of focus that are more important right now than finding a true second wide receiver.
We're past that point. People got to get that in their heads, and they won't. But like we're past that point of like, well, we got to get a wide receiver too. Like no, we're past that point. We're just so far past that point. And like you got to think about the guys we have on this team that are making plays out there that quite frankly just didn't get a chance to make plays tonight. I mean, I remember on Wednesday's show, I think one of the bigger points I came up with for a keys to the game from my perspective was, hey, the Steelers have to get off the field on third downs because the Chargers are converting third downs at a higher rate than anybody in the NFL. And defense did. Little did I know it was the offense's efficiency on third down that would be the problem. I mean, they didn't complete a third down or convert a third down until well into the second half, really well when the game was almost out of reach. And it's like that you can't do that. You just simply can't do that when you're in a game like this against a good football team like the Los Angeles Chargers, who are likely a playoff team. You have to convert on third down. And then some of it was just self-inflicted wounds. Like you get I think about the penalties. There was a penalty on I think it was it Faltanu on a 2nd and 1, and then it bumped them back on the holding that kind of set that drive. They kind of, got it off a bit. And that's when Aaron Rodgers obviously went and kind of threw that one behind Jonnu Smith and ultimately it wasn't a catch. So it's stuff like that. I mean, you just have to do the little things correctly. Just execute like a professional when it comes down to it. And I just think and people are going to overreact when it comes to the offense. And people, I feel like, love to have an opinion on the Steelers offense. I mean, it was moving. It was fine. These last few weeks, all season long, it hit a bump in the road here today. And it's just a bump in the road. You got a Cincinnati team. Granted, you lost a couple weeks ago, but you lit them up. You lit them up offensively. Aaron Rodgers had one of his better games of the season, passing wise against Cincinnati the other day, with minus a couple of the interceptions. So it's just about kind of resetting, coming back with a hunger, knowing you have to get this next win and getting the job done. And I think you have to think also going into this next game, how the defense played against Cincinnati was poor, and now that they're trending in the right direction, get a chance to rectify that mistake that happened on Thursday Night Football at home. You just trust in the process. Like Chris said, it's a roller coaster. Don't get too high, don't get too low, and we'll see what happens in the kitchen in AFC North Football Sunday.
Bengals off this week. So Wayne, when you look at that matchup Sunday in Pittsburgh between the Steelers and the Bengals, both teams having played one another already, what's the focus for the Steelers this week at practice?
It's easy to focus for that game. It's a division game, and you're just coming off a loss where you had a lot of opportunities to take this game down deeper and try to win at the end against the Chargers, and that didn't happen. So the offense has a lot of motivation already as they go into this game for the Bengals. It's at home. You get the opportunity to rectify something you felt like you should have done the first time around against a team that you play all the time. So I think the team will be focused for this game.
I expect to hear Renegade Sunday at Acrisure Stadium. Can count on that. Chris, when you walk into Acrisure Stadium Sunday, what do you hope to see in that matchup that we did not see tonight against the Chargers?
Oh, for one, competent quarterback play. He's like, again, like I don't think that the Chargers.
Okay, so if that's in mind, like if Aaron starts a game off like that, what kind of leash do you give Aaron before you maybe turn to Mason Rudolph and say, hey, you know what? Let's try this out.
It's always tricky because you pull an Aaron Rodgers, and a Hall of Fame all-time quarterback, you better have instant results after, because you pull him and Mason Rudolph comes in and is how Mason Rudolph is about 80% of his career. You're asking to blow things up And I think that's the thing here is that some people want things blown up. Some people want the Steelers to just fall into depravity so that they can point and laugh at Mike Tomlin, which I think is the root of a lot of problems in the fan base right now. But I look at this and I say, like, you look, Aaron Rodgers, you give him time to work through things. If it gets to the point where his physical skills are completely gone, fine. But I think it's also important to note, like, look, there were times Ben Roethlisberger had these games in his prime, like where he would just inexplicably throw 5 interceptions right to the other team, and people would just be like, "Oh, it's okay, it's Big Ben." And it's like, guys, these things happen, and you kind of ride the wave with these. Just a little bit ago, people were saying Aaron Rodgers, man, what a get for the Steelers. He's not dead. He's this, he's that. He had a clunker. You got to come back. You got to give him time to work, and you got to keep scheming up opportunities for your guys to get open. Again, I know a lot of people are saying you need a wide receiver too. Wide receiver twos would have been open just like Pat Freiermuth was, just like Calvin Austin was, just like Darnell Washington was. And I'm sure the more when I look back on tape, I'm gonna be like, oh man, there was a lot to be had here. I don't think scheme was the problem tonight, but sometimes you have clunkers. And I also think it's funny that Steelers fans think that they're the only ones that go through these things. The Bills just got absolutely dogged by a bad Dolphins team. And I mean, just destroyed. And if the Steelers had that kind of game with an MVP quarterback of the year, they're supposed to be the superstar Steelers, people will be losing their minds. And here they are losing their minds about this game. I think this was a reasonable loss to a good Chargers team where your quarterback played abysmally. Now what you need to do is you need to get ready next week, have a good game plan. Biggest thing against the Bengals, take away Chase and Higgins, or at least limit them in the way that you did not do in the first game. And I think the way they've played in the few games since then, especially the Colts in this game, it's a little more optimistic that they could have a plan in place that won't let Joe Flacco rip them apart. But we got to see them actually do it.
And that'll be the biggest question going into that matchup next Sunday against the Bengals. We will talk about that when we get to the final quarter here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. That's next. Stay with us. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Fourth quarter of this Locked On Steelers Squad Show on a Sunday night following the Steelers' 25-10 loss to the Chargers on the West Coast. He's Ben Bobick. He's Christopher Carter. He's Wayne Gandy. I'm Tyler Feldman. Thanks for spending a late Sunday night with all of us as we try to figure out what went wrong with Pittsburgh in this one. It was not fun to watch, but there were some pockets of, okay, this team still has something. And Chris started to talk about this at the end of the third quarter there before we went to break. But yeah, the big question is, how do you stop that talented duo wide receiver in Cincinnati? Wayne, if you look at that last time, not too long ago, it was an absolute meat carving session. Like I was at a Texas barbecue joint watching it happen right in front of me. Do the Steelers have enough healthy pieces in place to do a better job of stopping those guys the second time around?
Well, one thing I want to chime in on that you and Chris were just discussing, once you pull Aaron Rodgers out, that's it. So all you out there that want him, he won't go back in. You might as well pull the U-Haul up and just tell him to leave town. It's not going to be one of those, okay, the next guy in, he has a bad half. Hey, Aaron, let's go back in the game. You brought him in for a specific mission. The mission is not done. And whenever you take him out, that will be it. So whatever you're voting for, just remind yourself of that when you go to cast your vote. This is not one of those young things where you get to play around. This is a guy who came here really in his mind for his last year to see what he could do with this team. And if you want to go in the next direction, he's not going to come back. You can watch that today with the Giants and Russell Wilson. I think he threw the game because once you pull him out, you might as well send him away. I don't know why they put him in the game. But back to your question against the Bengals, I think a lot of times those two receivers are already dangerous. And I think what really caught the Steelers, they didn't know how Joe Flacco was going to use them.
Which is crazy.
And now, no, not that he can't or couldn't use them.
Yeah.
But how he was going to
who
target them.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
So now we have that. You understand who he likes, what he favors. You got game tape of him using that system. So I think it'll be a little more easier to scheme. And as I said, after last week, it seems that the Steelers have recognized that they can't just play off of talent. It's going to have to be a mixture of talent and scheme. And I definitely love the way I think Joe Flacco is going to face a more aggressive rush attack. Guys are going to get after him a little more than the last time he saw this Steeler defense.
And Chris, it seems like the defensive line has picked it up a little bit.
Yeah, they have. I wrote about this, about Keanu Benton in the Post-Gazette this weekend. But, I mean, Keanu Benton is playing really well. And if Keanu Benton's playing well and Cam Hayward's still Cam Hayward and Derek Harmon, I think, is playing well, you have a defensive front that's making a difference. And I know some people are out there like, oh, I saw people making the joke, where was T.J. Watt in this game? T.J. Watt was getting pressure. T.J. Watt was getting sacks. Again, they sacked.
Getting held. I mean,
getting held.
I mean, holy cow. It seems like every play.
It's every play. And I
don't want to get too I don't want to get too into it, but I'm like, where's the flag? It's right there.
It's so funny because it's like, you know, coaches will go to other teams and go to the referee and say, hey, watch out for Joey Porter Jr. He likes to hold. And it's like, I feel like Mike Tomlin should be, hey, just letting you know, they're going to hold 90 every play. And it just seems, but they don't seem to care. And I guarantee you the Steelers do like point that out because they do talk to the refs. But to the point about the pressure, 2 sacks from Alex Highsmith. So you get 2, 3, 4, 5. You had 5 sacks in this game. That's a good game of pressure against Justin Herbert, who is a very athletic quarterback who's good at buying time, escaping. And you know, I look at that and I say, like, man, like there is a path for this team to play the way that it wants to play. And I think that the defense, for the most part, did until the offense kind of just kept putting them in bad situations. This is a team, like, I know, like, everyone's looking for, you know, an answer. So, like, you know, how do they turn things around? Turn things around by just making the plays that are right in front of you. And sometimes it's that simple. It doesn't feel good saying that. It doesn't change the fact that they got their butts kicked tonight. But sometimes that's just what it is, and they need to go out and do it. And so next week against the Chargers, or not Chargers, against the Bengals, you know, I think there were a lot of things the Bengals did that weren't that complex. So, you know, there was a couple passes like the T. Higgins, you know, deep ball over Jalen Ramsey. That's one thing. But there were, like, you know, slants and shallow crosses and motions that the Bengals did that the Steelers just didn't react well to. But the last 2 weeks, they've had good offenses with have been playing really well and using those types of concepts to get guys open, and they have taken those away. That's a good sign. And if they could do that again next week, it'll help them reset. I think the Bengals defense is a good unit for Aaron Rodgers to try to figure out, you know, whatever he got wrong in this game for him to find his comfort zone. But the Steelers, they need to get going. I also think if the Steelers don't have those early turnovers, they can lean more on the run game because Jaylen Warren finished the game averaging 5 yards a pop. Neither the Chargers running backs averaged 4 yards a pop in this game. So I think that there is definitely a path for this team to win games and win games like this one. But sometimes you have bad nights. You gotta, you know, kind of study what you did wrong, recover real quick, and get back out there.
There's no doubt I believe Aaron Rodgers can sit in the film room and practice and work through the mistakes he made in this game tonight. My concern surrounds, look, you get older, you slow down a little bit. The game doesn't slow down. It's still fast as heck. And so that's maybe where my concern is. I'm interested to see how Aaron Rodgers responds against the Bengals. Ben, on Wednesday this past week, you picked the Chargers to win, right?
I did.
You're on a heater. How many in a row is that? You're on a heater. Meanwhile, I'm like, it's going to be a shootout. There's going to be 70 combined points. I'm laughing the whole game. But what is it about you going into these games that allows you to say, hey, this is what's going to happen?
You know, I this one has an asterisk, though, because I did say it was going to be a bit closer, and it wasn't. You know, I said I think my final was 33-31.
No need to discredit. You picked it. No need to discredit with the score.
Yeah, it's fair. I'm just making sure we're holding ourselves accountable. That's what we've been talking about here. But yeah, it's like you should have sort of a feel for it, man. And I think when it like with this Cincinnati, you do, but like with this Cincinnati game. I'm brushing it off. You just gotta have a feel for it, man.
Casual. You said it so casual. I just have a feel for this.
Yeah, but going into the Cincinnati game, like these guys have been saying, like speaking of having a feel for it, you have a feel that the Steelers are going to learn from their mistakes against that they had the last time they played the Bengals. I mean, you will look at it simply. I mean, think about obviously there's a lot of differences, but they turned the ball over twice and they let Chase Brown run all over them. So if the Steelers stop the run and don't turn the ball over against Cincinnati, they're probably going to be in a good position to win on Sunday at home. So it's one of that's just the simple, kind of like one-dimensional way to look at things. There's obviously a lot more that goes into it, but man, we have a real opportunity here. I feel like it was a tough 3-game stretch here. You win 1 out of the 3, and now you have Cincinnati coming to town, and then you go and play at Chicago. And I understand Chicago's doing well, but they're winning games in weird ways, and I don't know. I just think it's not fluky, but it just is what it is with the Bears, and so this is a good chance to get right, if you will. If you could get back-to-back wins here, get yourself up, get yourself a little cushion before you get another tough stretch, it'd be a big deal. But it starts on Sunday against Cincinnati, and they're going to have to get after Joe Flacco. And Chris mentioned it too. I do believe this pass rush is going to get after Flacco a little bit more because they did do a good job against Justin Herbert. That was one of the bigger things I was worried about tonight with the defense was, man, like Justin Herbert knows how to move around, and even if they do get pressure on him, I feel like he's going to slide enough to continue to make plays. And even when he did, it was good defense. So, Joe Flacco is not going to be able to slide around the pocket like Justin Herbert did tonight or in general. So, especially at this stage of the game. So, it'll be interesting to see if they could turn it up at home.
Wayne, final thoughts on this 25-10 loss on Sunday Night Football?
It's just a tough loss. You kind of thought about this game. You felt like the Chargers were going to win this game in some kind of form or fashion when you looked at the schedule. The Steelers, as I predicted, I think they're a 10-17 on the season, and they're still on pace to be a 10-17. Now, where that puts them in the playoffs, that's what the roster says to me, that they can win 10 games, and they already are halfway there. So I don't know, does it count when they win the games, or they end up with the win? So right now, it's just a good opportunity. You got some teams that you probably feel like you can play with in the Bengals and the Bears. And I feel like this team, especially Aaron Rodgers, this sets up for an Aaron Rodgers moment, to bounce back from a game. Not that he's going to continue it the whole season, but just you feel like he just has that kind of attitude towards the sport that he wants to remind you of how good he is. And next week is a great opportunity against a soft defense.
Chris, when you lay down in bed tonight, put your head on the pillow, pull over the sheets, what will keep you up with nightmares from this game? And then what will allow you to maybe finally fall asleep?
Nothing. I have no problem sleeping after Steelers losses. Let me tell you that as soon as Christopher Carter's Locked On Steelers podcast is posted and up on our YouTube, and Chris turns the computer off, he jumps into bed. Sometimes I don't even make it to bed. Sometimes I fall asleep at this desk after being like, click, good, and it's over. My wife will tell you, I will fall asleep standing up. I will fall asleep with the lights on. I will fall asleep. I will fall asleep with Who Let the Dogs Out blaring in my ear. If Chris knows his work is done, he will go to sleep. Trust me, that ain't no problem, man.
I regret phrasing the question that way. Chris, any final thoughts on this game? Ben, go ahead, and then we'll send it back.
No, let Chris go. Yeah, let Chris go.
Okay.
No, in all seriousness, I think the big thing is that the Steelers are finding answers on defense. They're switching things around, and that's a good sign. And again, clearly there's answers on offense. The run game did work at times. They just had critical failures at points that you expect your quarterback to be able to make plays. I expect Aaron Rodgers to bounce back. He's been a competitor all his career. He finds a way to fight back, and he has clunkers. I think it's important to remember the last 2 times he's played complete seasons, he's had losing seasons. So he's had his clunkers in the past. But for the most part this season, he has seen what other teams are trying to do. He's counted them well. I think one thing, Mike Tomlin, he credited Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator, with a good job. I think he did a good job of rattling Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a studious football player. He's a studious quarterback. He's going to be able to go in the film room, see what the Chargers did to counter him, and then kind of add that to his notes. And then I expect him to at least mentally make those adjustments going into next week to see if the Chargers, if the Bengals are able to try to if they try to replicate what the Chargers did. But the Bengals do not have the talent on defense to do that, in my opinion. And this should be a good week to get things right on offense. And if the defense can show, hey, that thing on Thursday night a few weeks ago, that was just a once over, that's not going to happen again. I think that can be the stuff that kind of resets the course. You'll get to 6-4. And I know that everyone's saying that the Ravens are about to march back into it. And listen, I said all along, the Ravens are going to be back in the hunt, but the Ravens do have a few things in their way that I don't think that people anticipated being a problem. One, they still have both their games against the Steelers. If the Steelers split that, I think that's one way to slow them down. But those late games against the Packers and the Patriots are two tough games that I think people underestimated early on in the season. If the Steelers can get to 10 wins, like Wayne's saying, and they split with the Ravens and they're able to hold out on some tiebreakers, they could still win the division in doing that. I still think the Steelers can get there, but they've got to turn it on. They've got to play some more complementary football. That's something we haven't seen too often this year.
Ben?
Yeah, just quickly, Tyler. I mean, when it comes down to it, you talked about going to bed. What I'm going to go to bed tonight, and I'm going to fall asleep nice and easily, because people are quick to text me about this Steelers loss tonight. They were even quicker to text after Indiana beat Penn State on Saturday. But
Why'd
no,
you have
and
to
I know
bring
you
that
got
up?
Right, but here's the thing. No, and you're in the same boat here, brother. No one's texting you about the Upper St. Clair Panthers beating the Whitfield semifinals, and no one's texted me about the Still Valley Ironmen beating the Whitfield 2A semifinals. That's what I'm going to go to bed nice tonight, because I know the Ironmen are going to get a chance to go play down in Acrisure yet again. And you know what? That's all we need, baby. That is all we need.
What a beautiful way to end this show here tonight. Here we go, Panthers, okay? Pantherland, okay? That's all that matters. Still
Did
Valley
Tyler just give Pitt a shout out?
Upper St. Clair. Dang it. Don't twist my words, Chris. You dog. You dog. Let's say so long here. It's been a long show. It's been a long show. It was a long game to watch. And I do feel like the Steelers still have a shot. And that's where we end this tonight. The Steelers still having a shot. A reminder, you can listen to the audio of tonight's show on the Locked On Steelers podcast channel, wherever and however you podcast. Steelers Nation, a reminder, friendly reminder, like, subscribe, that helps us out. A reminder to check out the Locked On Steelers daily podcast Monday through Friday with the one and the only Christopher Carter, who I guess sleeps at his desk. So just know that that's where he's at. He does everything right where he's sitting. And with that in mind, that'll do it for this post-game edition of the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. The Steelers fall to the Chargers on Sunday Night Football, 25-10. For Wayne Gandy, Christopher Carter, and Ben Bobick, I'm Tyler Feldman saying good night, and still, here we go. We'll see you Wednesday night for some more Steelers talk on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show.